When you come into the world, we take on the identity of those who are more powerful than us. What we're looking for is a kind of person who is looking for meaning. What's the meaning of life? Why am I here?
If you take too much pride in what you are, whatever pride is, that will produce the doubts in this perceptive soul, and the perceptive soul will be haunted by the doubts, and they call that depression. So you'll have all these very successful people who will be haunted by depression. You say, well, they've got money, and why are they haunted by depression? It's because this pride in what you've accomplished produces this counter energy which becomes depression. But it doesn't need to be depression. You don't need to function out of this fear and depression. You need to know there is another way. That's all I really want to say to people, because I found another way. And I realized it's different than these ways. And I can't make myself be in the other way, but I am at times, and then I'm not at times. So it's like it's a real strange place, because you're lost. Because the one minute you sense that there's a way out of this place I'm in to relieve all this depression, pride, fame, misfortune, there's a way out of this. You want to believe there's a way out of it, but you want to be in charge of the way out of it. The funny thing is, the way out of it, you're not in charge. But there could be another way. See, the whole thing about could be another way is the secret to life. That little suggestion that I'm just saying in words, it's something that comes from deep inside of you. And it comes up through your body and mind and says, there could be another way. That is a magic. And where it comes from, I don't know. And why one person has it and another one doesn't, I don't know. We need to come to realize at some point is that there is a master orchestrating this whole thing, and he's simply trying to teach you that you don't need to hold on. The part of you that wants to hold on doesn't need to hold on. But he's teaching it in a magical way. He's not like your teachers, I told you. No, he's teaching you in a very gentle way about holding on that way. And what it does, we don't ever feel it. That is what faith is. When you've learned the lesson that I can't hold on to it, but you didn't learn it like you learned things in school. You learned it in your heart. You will not try to hold on to it. And you will be in a whole other reality, even though you look like you're one of us. Just walking around like a normal person. You're actually living in a different reality, because when you have it, it's there, but when it's not there, you're just you, but you're not running to get whatever that inspiration was. If it's not there and you're not inspired, you're just sitting there. If you're living under man-made structure, you may be a moral, high-spirited, gracious, logical person, but it's not enough. Because we're not put here to be that. We're put here to wake up to, as good as that is, it's not good enough. My soul there's something in me that's crying, and I don't know what it is. And that something that's crying has to be able to express itself. And that expression doesn't have to be to other people, but it can be. I found that I didn't know at the time, but that was my soul always crying to be released. But I didn't know that. And I sort of conformed and went along. And at some point, that cry of my soul led me to places where I went through experiences that were very public and humiliating to my ego, but that had to be. That was my destiny, the willingness to just see what is there, see what's made a home in me, because I was so frustrated by the way life made me be. Because of that, the chemistry changed. And I went through all this, and nobody's told me, oh, that's okay, you're going through, this is part of, no, I just thought I was crazy. I didn't know. So I'm here to tell you, there is another way. And it's a very subtle way, and you can't find the way with your diligence and perseverance. You have to let that way find you. And it finds you in a very subtle, gentle hand. Once in a while you get a slap on the head, but usually it's subtle and it's gentle, because the Father is looking for souls that are hungering and thirsting for His presence. And the presence of the Father is complete reality with no excuses, no justifications, nothing. His presence drives out all illusion, delusion, misconception. It just dispels it. But He doesn't do it right away, because you'd go crazy. Everything you would, all of a sudden your whole world would be turned upside down. So He knows that. So he gently makes His presence known in you by showing you things about yourself you didn't want to see. The more you're willing to bear about yourself, and at some point realizing, I can't fix it. See, that's the trouble with Christianity. They tell you to fix it. You got to fix it. And that's a mistake. It's kind of good that they tell you that, because then you'll make the mistake and believe it's the good thing, and then find out, if you're perceptive and long living, you can live long enough, you'll realize that's a mistake. I can't make myself better. And if I let go, I've had people just let everything go, and they drug addicts and whatever. They went into some crazy life and everything, and they let everything go, and then they come back and say, that didn't work either. It was the wrong let go. See, there's a funny twist to that let go. If you're living this life, this is built, on this is built, on this is built, on this is built, on this is, you're building your life on all these experiences. Even though you may be regretting them, then you figure, well, if you regret them, you won't do them again. I was raised a Catholic. The Catholic religion, especially in the Middle Ages, was all about beating yourself up, doing penance, doing sorrow, sacrificing, giving your life because you're not worthy, and all this stuff. And in the Middle Ages, it got bizarre. I mean, guys would go up and flog themselves in public and starve themselves in public, and everybody would think they're a saint because they're starving themselves on a pillar in the middle of town for 6 years. That's how bizarre it got. But that isn't anything to do with what it actually says is, God's not good enough to punish me, I'm going to do it myself. I'm not going to let Him fool with it. I'm going to do it myself. I'll beat myself up. That's pretty strange. It's the seat of judgment that we don't want to give up. There's a part of us that is in that seat and can't get out of it and doesn't want to. Stuck? That's a part, but that's not you. It's a part of you. And that part of you needs to be neutralized, and you can't do it yourself. Your proud nature needs to be undone. The church was going to undo the proud nature in the Middle Ages by punishing you and ridiculing you and shaving off your hair and doing all these things, living in rags, starving yourself. This is supposed to be making your pride. And I always wondered, well, what part of you is doing all this? Isn't that your proud nature? How do we do things without pride? I'm going to do that. I have to do that? Okay, I'll do it. That's a part of your nature. Everyone, I have to say this, when they were in the crib as a baby, at one point hated that they had to have people do everything for them. And it was just natural. It's not your fault you did it. You just naturally, that's the way we're born. We have this proud nature. And then some people spend their life giving freedom to the proud nature, and other people spend their life hating the proud nature. But where are they hating it from? What part of them is? Because you're meant to see the proud nature is, you're meant to wake up one day and say, wait a minute. I said that to her? That's not me. You realize that's not me that was that proud. that mean, that judgmental. You realize, something in you realizes that's not me, but you don't know what to do with that. And if you try to work on that and grab it and hold on to it, you can't. So there's this other part of you, and it's buried in people. And I only want to talk to the people who say, yeah, I know what you mean. I'm not sure I know what you mean, but I think I know what you mean. Because not that I don't want to talk to somebody else who's asleep, they're just not ready yet. So, hey, people are not ready. They're ready when they're ready. I look at life like my oak floor. I took my carpet out of my living room and I put an oak floor in. And they're just boards, not real long boards. And it's very clear grain in it, so the boards all fit together. There's all these joints in the oak floor. And I'm sitting in my living room and I look down at my oak floor and all of a sudden I notice two pieces line up, and the grain in this one matches the grain in that one almost exactly, but they're different colors. So one's light and one's dark, but the grain, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grains all match up perfectly with the one next to them. I can't believe it. Because I thought, well, that's just coincidence, odds are. So the next day I'm standing in another place in my living room and I happen to look down at the floor and there's another one. Unbelievable. You can tell they weren't from the same piece of wood, but the grains come in and it fits in, this knot fits in just right. But there's 2 lines that don't match perfectly. Everyone else does. And I was puzzled by this, seeing this a couple of times. And then I realized, that's like life. Every once in a while, you'll see the pattern of life matches perfectly, and it's being orchestrated. And then it goes into the chaos of the floor with many joints, and they don't match. And then all of a sudden, whoa! You get to see a place where unbelievable, impossible in the same room to have that many matches that are so much alike and yet so different. One's a light blonde piece of wood, one's a dark red piece of wood, and the grains come together and they match perfectly for 3 inches. And you say, how can that be? That's the way life is. In my oak floor, I got to see the mystery of life. That God has a pattern for everything, and that once in a while you'll see everything come together and know there's a hand in this, but then it goes back to what appears to be chaos and randomness. But it isn't, because there's no way that it's just coincidence that these things happen. So I see that, and so I know that when a person shows up and they're ready to see, someone else either is a catalyst to that or is a confirmation of that or something, so that all of a sudden they're able to wake up and see a little more. That's the way life is. There's a mystery to this thing. Things come together and then they go on their way, but people can take from these little things special truths that they never knew could exist. Even if you left this room with a part of your soul, not in your brain, sensing there's more to life than I can see. And you just go out with that. And you don't know where it came from. And you don't go on a search and read 16 books and do all that. It's not about that. Because you don't have to search. It will find you. If you have it in your heart, it will find you. His presence will find you and begin to change your being in ways you could never imagine. And at times, it's going to be very painful for part of you. So what? I get a sliver in my finger. I can't pull it out. It's too deep or it's broken or something. I know what my finger's going to do. First, it's going to hurt for a couple of days. Then it's going to get fluid all around the sliver. And then at some point, I can break the skin where the fluid is and squeeze it and the sliver pops out. Or I can just let my finger go. If it's not too big a pain, I just let it go on and eventually the sliver just stays in there and it just sort of dissipates and disappears, and all of a sudden look down and it's gone. I can see it under the skin and then it's gone. I know that's what's going to happen. Now, I could get real frustrated and say, I can't wait. I can't have a sliver in my hand now. I'm going on television. So you go and you fiddle with it and you cause an infection and you lose your finger or whatever. Or you could just let it unfold. You know the process, you see it, you've had a few experiences, you're willing to endure the pain of it and the inconvenience, and even let people judge you for that he's got a sliver in his finger and he hasn't taken care of it yet. And you let them judge you for that. That's okay, because you know there's a process at work, and you'd rather have it go the way it's meant to go And it does. That's a poor analogy for life, but it's a simple one that every man can experience, and probably many women, because you get thorns and slivers and bits of this and that under your fingernail or in your finger. So, even in those little things, there's a lesson about life. You have to be willing to let His energy penetrate on all this stuff you're carrying around, this head maze of ideas and thoughts and this culture and this body and these ailments or these, I mean, if you're an athlete and you've got this fabulous body and you're really good at what you do, it's hard to reach a guy like that. Because this whole proud nature, this beautiful body that can do so much, is standing in the way of him wondering, what's making me tick? Why was I rude to that person? How come I'm not as shy as I used to be? I'm just in everybody's face because I'm famous now. All this is the same thing, because I believe everybody on earth is here for one reason, to wake up to one realization and let it penetrate through you. And if you do that, you're going to be a different person. And even if you don't let the penny drop until your last minute on your deathbed, if it does drop then, that's great. But I say, why wait? Why not let that penny drop now?